All right, it's 6 a.m. on the East Coast, and it's Monday, December the 2nd, and this is Fox and Friends.
It is indeed. All right, folks, Fox News Alert. You saw this, I'm sure. President Biden has pardoned his son Hunter of any offenses from the past decade, despite Joe Biden's many promises to the American public that went something like this.
A pardon for your son?
Yes. I said I abide by the jury decision. I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
Plus, this morning, closing arguments begin in Daniel Penny's subway chokehold trial. We will take you to the courthouse as the Marine veteran faces up to 15 years in prison if convicted.
Wow, and the migrant crisis by the numbers as President-elect Trump gets ready for his day one border action. Kind of those days have started already, it seems, where $182 billion taxpayer dollars have gone. That's the big question.
Fox and Friends starts right now.
We start with a Fox News alert. President Biden pardoning his son Hunter last night, excusing any offenses the first son might have committed over the past decade.
That's a long time. Madeleine Rivera joins us right now from Washington, D.C. Madeleine, you know, even though Joe Biden said he's not going to do it, we all knew he was going to do it.
Yeah, it's really such a major reversal for this president, Steve. So the White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, said as recently as last month, the president wouldn't commute his son's sentence or pardon him, yet he did so anyway because he said Hunter's charges were meant to break him politically. The president saying in part, here's the truth. I believe in the justice system, but as I have wrestled with this, I also believe raw politics has infected this process and it led to a miscarriage of justice. Hunter was found guilty in June on 3 federal gun charges. In September, he pled guilty to 9 federal tax charges. He was supposed to have sentencing hearings on December 12th for his gun case and December 16th for his tax case. All of those now gone. But the president's pardon doesn't just cover these offenses. It covers any crime the first son may have committed between January 2014 to December 2024. And that time frame is notable, given that Hunter joined the board of Burisma Holdings in 2014, and he has been scrutinized for his foreign business dealings.
It also shows a degree of contempt for the American people. You know, this is a president who didn't just simply lie about not ever speaking to his son's business associates, of never being in meetings with them. But he lied repeatedly to the American people when he was a candidate for re-election.
The president says he made this decision over the weekend while spending the Thanksgiving holiday with his family in Nantucket. But NBC, which was the first to report this news, says the president had been talking about the possibility of pardoning Hunter with close aides as far back as June, when Hunter was convicted on those gun charges. Lauren,
Right.
Steve, Brian, and Ainsley.
Thank you so much, Maddie. It's interesting that the pardon starts on January 1st, 2014. He joined Burisma, the board of Burisma, 4 months after that, in April. So this goes back to Joe Biden being the vice president. Something else I found interesting in the president's remarks, in his, paragraphs full of
His pardon.
How he believes his son was treated differently and singled out because his dad was the president. He said, quote, I have followed a simple principle. Just tell the American people the truth. Well, he lied. He did. He lied to us. He said he wasn't going to pardon him. But part of his pardon statement is say, tell the truth.
Yeah, but Ainsley, that's because, according to Joe Biden, those mean Republicans came after him. And ultimately, I think the reason it's a 10-year span is, I was talking to somebody in law enforcement yesterday. They said it's almost an implicit admission of guilt, acknowledging there is criminal adjacent stuff that has gone uncharged. Also, ultimately, this means nobody can go after Hunter for anything he did during that 10-year period.
Even
essentially,
giving money to the big guy?
Well, any of it. It is essentially a remarkable get-out-of-jail-free card.
So I would say, number one, it can't be true because he said repeatedly over and over again, I'm not going to pardon my son Hunter. And he also says he's got great trust in the criminal justice system. However, in this case, I've watched it selectively and unfairly prosecuted. You can't have it both ways. No. And number two is he's going under the guise of addiction. What addiction do you need to have to do a deal with a Romanian billionaire, to go to the Moscow mayor's wife, to go into China and meet with a billionaire and come out with millions of dollars? What type of crack do you use to not pay taxes ever? And then what kind of crack, which must be supplied from somebody, do you all of a sudden, some producer comes out of Hollywood from nowhere and pays all your bills plus interest? Who was paying that producer? And what did you ever get to the bottom of what Joe Biden lied multiple times about being having nothing to do with his son's overseas business dealings? You remember that? At the same time, we find out about him having dinner with his business partners, calling into an international business deal in Ukraine just to check on his son. This is the same pattern you used with Ukraine. I'm not going to give him HIMARS. I'm going to give him HIMARS. I'm not going to give him F-16s. I'm going to give him F-16s. I'm not going to give him ATACMS. I'm going to give him ATACMS. I'm not going to let him hit in Moscow. I let him hit in Moscow. He gets a pass all the time on this, and now all bets are off. Next time someone says he's the next George Washington, please remember some of this.
Well, the thing is that we all knew he was going to do it. Yeah. And I don't think that's really the issue here, is that he's pardoning his son. It's that he lied about it. And they expected us to believe that he was this noble guy and that he was going to restore order to the Department of Justice. Suddenly, the criminal justice system has unfairly targeted his son. You can't have it both ways, as Brian says. Either the criminal justice system is broken in totality, or they aren't. You can't say in this particular point. But I just got to say, though, you don't have to take our word for it. The federal judge that was going to oversee this sweetheart deal literally looked over to the prosecution and said, is there any precedent for a deal like this? They said no. Then they looked over to the defense, his own lawyers. They asked him. She says, is there any precedent for the deal? They said no. So if there's anything, they tried to give him special treatment in the criminal justice system.
Right. You know, and you just brought up such a good point, because in that sweetheart deal, there was the extraordinary part, and this is why Judge Norica said, hey, is there a precedent for this? The deal said anything he did.
In perpetuity.
Right. Anything he did then or in the future. So that was, they got greedy. They wanted too much. And now we have clearly seen that they had this planned all along. Of course, I think Joe probably thought Hunter would skate on the charges initially, but then after he was convicted, he faced 25 years.
Can I ask y'all a question? Your dads, all of us had strong dads, right? Or have strong dads. My dad always told me, Ainsley, if you get arrested, don't call me. I'm not your first phone call. I'm leaving you in there. If you did something that's that bad, then you need to stay. I'm not saying he shouldn't pardon his son. Most, I guess, dads would do that. But his son had every opportunity. He grew up in a family of privilege. He grew up in a family where he had every opportunity, and he squandered it by not paying his taxes, by being addicted to crack cocaine. And so when you look at his story,
and
it's like, right? Many of us would have loved to have had, you know, we did it by pulling up our bootstraps and doing it the hard way, by working really hard and getting to where we wanted to be. He had every opportunity that most sons don't have. And now his dad is pardoning him and saying, like, it's okay, he did it because of me, of my influence.
His dad had superpowers, has superpowers for 50 more days, and he's doing what a lot of parents would do. They're bailing out their son if they can, even though he's acknowledged, you know, he broke the law, but then again, the Republicans are going to come after him.
The part that bothers me, though, is this question was asked multiple times to the president, to the White House press secretary, and they got so nasty with our correspondents when they asked, don't ask us this question, don't do it. Here's just a little bit of when the question was asked to the White House press secretary, who's not going to be doing any press conferences because the president is going to Africa. This is what she said before, though. Watch.
Any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
Well, is there?
I just said no. I just answered. Go ahead.
Will you accept the jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is?
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes. I'm extremely proud of my son, Hunter. I'm not going to do anything. I said I abide by the jury decision. I will do that, and I will not pardon.
Does the president have any intention of pardoning him?
We've been asked that question multiple times. Our answer stands, which is no.
President Biden says that he's not going to pardon his son, Hunter. Is he going to ask Donald Trump to do that?
I don't have anything else to share about that. I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole on this. I've been very clear. The president's been very clear when we've been asked this question.
They are such liars, all of them.
Well, the thing is,
now reveal.
You can even back it up even further. Not only did he have his father and his name blocking for him, he initially started blocking for the FBI.
Yeah.
When that laptop would have blew up Hunter, his legal cases, international business dealings, his personal transgressions, his horrible pictures with hookers, and the love child that he denied having, still not paying child support for a period of time. Had to fight, had to be sued in order to pay it. All these things are going on, and the FBI was blocking, holding it, which was going to lead to our story later on the need for a new FBI director.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.